We wanted to start this particular session with a game clip, probably of my favorite college basketball game of all time. Okay, and so we're going to kick things off here. It's, you remember that, what a magical evening this was.
I've been a part of worse ones.
All right, so 4.6 seconds left. Butler has the basketball down on the baseline. You guys are down 1. Let's see how this thing plays out.
To inbound the ball again for Butler.
Don't remember this with Hill and Leitner. They allowed him to throw it in.
A travel is called on Burleigh.
He lifted his pivot foot. There's the pass. Now watch this. He dragged his pivot foot. No doubt about it.
And now if they don't get an immediate steal, they'll have to foul.
Foul right away. And then you got to hope for a dramatic 3.
Oh, boy! They got it! Yes!
I can't believe it! Are you serious, America?
The reason I love this clip so much is because it just shows the nature of the game. And if we can, I'd like to just show you guys those clips back and forth real quick. So I want you guys to keep an eye on Brad. Watch his reaction to the travel. How would you describe his demeanor?
To inbound the ball again for Butler.
Don't remember this with Hill and Leitner. They allowed him to throw it in.
A travel is called on Burleigh.
Pretty calm. Can we agree with that? What looked like you were thinking about the next play? Now we're going to roll this last one. Keep your eyes on Brad as this play ensues.
And then you got to hope for a dramatic 3.
Oh, boy! They got it! Yes!
What is the, we see the external, what's the internal experience for you?
This is the truth. So a lot of you have been doing this for a long time. At some point, this is what you do for a living. So you're just trying to help put your team in the best position you can and impact it as much as you can, which sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. And, you know, if that shot goes in or that shot doesn't go in, it has no impact to me on how we played.
Well, and my question to you is, has your sideline demeanor ever been maybe misinterpreted by your players for a lack of passion?
You know, that's an interesting question. I don't know. I mean, you always read, you hear players talk about how happy they are that their coach stood up for them and got a technical foul or something like that. And I don't know that I've ever felt like I was arguing a call because I was standing up for somebody. I was probably just arguing because I thought it was a missed call. I think I don't think it's ever been an issue that it's been communicated to me, but maybe it has. I mean, I think one of the things is you look at some of these games, whether they were in the tournament when I was at Butler or a game like this, you know, I think you're making a conscious decision to be as level as possible too, because you know the magnitude of the game and the event for the players. And, you know, I don't need to add layers of being overly excited myself. And so I think that, but there are times during the course of the season that clearly, I mean, if you ask any official that's ever done one of our games or, you know, any of our players, I'm not as even keeled as maybe I've been made out to be. Is that the right way to say it?
I think that's a way to say it.
Yeah, okay. So, you know, it's funny, I kind of laugh at the whole, you know, that whole personality, I guess. But in that moment, I'm thinking about whether that shot goes in or not. It doesn't really impact how I'm going to view how we played. And I'm thinking about, you know, Mark Few is a friend of mine, and so I've been on the other side of those things where the shot goes in and everybody runs on the court, and you're just kind of standing there, and that's not fun either. And then you're thinking about, well, how in the hell are we going to beat LaSalle on Wednesday because we're riding this emotional high that you'll never come down from. And we got beat by LaSalle on Wednesday. So, yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of things. It's kind of what Gino was saying about you're in the moment, but you're thinking about what's next. And so that's the fun part about coaching, but it's the part that has probably taken away more of my fandom which I kind of miss. Like, you know, when I was a kid, I was a basketball nut, you know, and growing up in the state of Indiana, but now I'd say that I'm a basketball coach, this is my job, so I'm less of I get in a lot less to the emotions of the game.
Well, and I think that speaks to this clip right here.
What did you say to your players in the locker room to come out with such fire?
My deal has always been, I don't care the result, but as long as we have no regrets. And we wanted to make sure we left it all out there, and they did.
When did you learn that?
You know, I don't know. You know, it's interesting because I think as a kid, and maybe even as a young coach, I was probably driven more by a fear of failure. You know, I was probably more of a box checker than I was somebody that was really trying to learn and grow, and whether, you know, we got beaten or made mistakes or whatever the case may be, you know, I was so focused on the result. But I think the longer you're in coaching, you know, I've been really lucky because I've been around tremendous coaches, and then I've been able to, you know, be named the head coach at Butler at a young age, and then be the head coach of the Celtics. And as the longer I've gotten into it, it's just become ever more obvious that it is about what you can control, and to stay focused on those things that you can control. Easier said than done. I mean, we all want to win. I think that for me, winning has become a sigh of relief, and losing is miserable. You know, and I don't think anybody likes that feeling or wants it to be that way. You wish they were equal. But I think that...
how do you maintain a healthy perspective?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, you know, I don't know if it's because when you have kids or, you know, you get beat 50 times in my first year in the NBA or whatever it was, or like I said earlier, I mean, we lost 29 times this year, and we were the first seed in the East. And you know, at Butler, we may go 4 or 5 years without losing 29 times, and that was something that you certainly have to adjust to, but you also realize you really have to move on to what's next. And again, it goes back to that process of growth. And you and I have talked about, you know, my favorite book early on in my head coaching career was Mindset by Carol Dweck, because it's all about focusing on growth, not on trophies. And since then, a lot of, and maybe it was already heading in that direction, but I've really noticed it, a lot of the materials in higher education reference Dweck or are really, you know, in that arena. My kids go to a school now here in the Boston area where, you know, their curriculum and their grading system, which is not grades in the elementary school, is based on this idea of really prioritizing growth and encouraging them to not only make mistakes, but appreciate, you know, it is a learning experience.
So how are your kids evaluated in that?
Yeah, so I you know, and I think and obviously it goes to a certain tier, and then you get into the typical grading system. But our kids are evaluated on how consistent their effort is, how much they desire to improve, you know, in each of their subjects. How coachable they are, how teachable they are, you know, the daily effort they put forth, all that stuff.
Well, it's amazing that how really that can transition up to the professional level as well, that same line of thinking.
Yeah, and I think if I was still wired with the same wiring as my early coaching days, and not with the influence of Dweck, and, you know, I referenced Angela Duckworth, the author of Grit, who's become a good friend of ours, and you know, a couple of other people in that line of work, I think that I would probably be less inclined to, you know, take a risk in a game or try something new or throw something out there that may not, you know, that may be a little unconventional. And I think it's a healthy way of living in this business, to say, okay, I'm going to analyze this game based on how we played, not on what happened, not on what everybody else is talking about or what the result was. Because, you know, a lot of times you play really well when you lose, and a lot of times you play really poorly when you win, and it's just the way the chips fall. But, you know, if that's sustained, if you play really poorly and you sustain that, you're going to eventually, be done sooner rather than later.